Hey, this is Henry from The Opinion. I have made a strategic assessment. Full spectrum escalation across Iran and the Gulf. Regional war threshold approaching. Serious. The American Israeli campaign against Iran has transitioned from limited signaling to broad spectrum operational strikes. Based on reporting from Rybar, 28 February, the scope, geographic spread, and target differentiation indicate pre-planned multi-axis suppression designed to degrade Iranian nuclear infrastructure, air defense coverage, and strategic depth simultaneously. Iran, strategic strike environment. Coalition strikes covered Tehran, Asaluya, Bandar Abbas, Chabahar, Bushehr, and Fordo. Air defense degradation in western and southwestern sectors enabled deep penetration. Reports indicate civilian casualties exceeding 200 killed and 747 injured. Civilian site impacts complicate escalation control and reinforce Iranian domestic mobilization. Assessment. Tehran will frame civilian losses as strategic justification for sustained retaliation. De-escalation probability is low within the next operational cycle. Israel, retaliatory pressure zone. Iranian ballistic and drone strikes targeted Tel Aviv, Haifa, Jerusalem, and the Nevatim base. Nationwide missile alerts demonstrate Iran's intent to impose psychological and economic pressure. Operational tempo suggests maintained launch capacity despite initial coalition strikes. Assessment. Israel retains defensive superiority, but faces attritional strain if interception rates decline under sustained salvos. Qatar and Bahrain. US force vulnerability exposed. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar reportedly sustained missile impacts beyond limited interceptions. In Bahrain, a Shahed 136 destroyed a US ANGSC 52B radar. Additional impacts struck port and urban areas. Iranian targeting doctrine appears calibrated to expose US regional basing fragility. Assessment. Gulf-hosted US infrastructure is now an active battle space. Host governments will reassess exposure thresholds. UAE, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, energy corridor risk. Strikes or impacts were reported at Al Dhafra, UAE, As Salem, Kuwait, and potentially near Riyadh. Fire at Palm Jumeirah indicates symbolic economic targeting. Regional air defense networks are entering sustained activation cycles. Assessment. Energy infrastructure and export nodes remain Iran's strategic leverage. Escalation toward infrastructure disruption is plausible. Iraq and Erbil. Uncontrolled theater expansion. Fire near Erbil's energy infrastructure, possibly from drone activity or missile debris, reflects the spillover effect. Attribution remains unclear. Iraq's fragmented armed landscape increases the probability of autonomous actor involvement. Assessment. Iraq risks becoming an uncontrolled auxiliary front, further destabilizing regional command coherence. Strait of Hormuz. Strategic choke point valid. While not yet directly engaged, Hormuz remains Iran's most consequential escalation lever. Closure or partial disruption would trigger immediate global economic shock, disproportionately affecting Gulf exporters. Assessment. Tehran will likely preserve Hormuz as deterrent leverage rather than immediate action, unless regime survival becomes threatened. Operationally, the coalition achieved initial tactical surprise and broad strike coverage. However, the campaign has triggered a geographically distributed retaliation network spanning Israel and multiple US-aligned states. Missile expenditure rates on both sides suggest high intensity but economically unsustainable tempo beyond several days without strategic recalibration. Civilian casualty reports inside Iran will harden internal cohesion and reduce political space for compromise. Simultaneously, US regional basing vulnerability has been publicly demonstrated. undermining assumptions of uncontested air dominance. The conflict has entered a deterrence stress test phase. Neither side benefits from prolonged exchange, yet both face domestic and credibility pressures that incentivize continued action. The next 72 to 96 hours will determine whether escalation plateaus or expands toward energy infrastructure and maritime choke points. Absent immediate back-channel containment, the operational environment points toward controlled but widening regional warfare rather than rapid de-escalation. According to maps and analysis from Rybar English Telegram, 28 February updates.